Yeah, she's going to think back over Arc 8 and be like, the main problem was that I didn't have access to crabs. Welcome to Inchworm,
the podcast in which we're inching through Worm. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Ted.
We read Extermination 8.8.
We got through it. We made it through Arc 8.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great book we just read. I can't believe it's over. Really putting the termination in Extermination, and now it's done.
Yeah. Did you feel like this was an ending? Did you feel like this is the end of book 1 of Worm?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. This, I did not expect the time skip. It very much felt like if this were a published work, it would be a little long for book 1, but this would be book 1.
Yeah. I mean, that's absolutely right. And that's what people think of as the first arc.
Right. The first, meta arc.
Right. In a larger
super
sense.
Arc.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. The first 8 arcs is book 1 of Worm.
Yeah, it's wild. I just didn't see this pause coming. Yeah, we don't pick up right where we left off with Taylor leaving the medical tent. It seems like it's been like a week and a half or something.
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
And everything's still kind of in turmoil, but we take enough of a leap, get like a bird's eye view of Taylor's situation, and we get to see her encounter with Lisa here.
Yeah, well, why don't I go through some of the details, and then we can get back to this very interesting conversation. As you said, there's a bit of a time jump. It's been at least 12 days since we last were with Taylor, and we start out the chapter with a reflection on how do you deal with, paying respects to the people that die in an Endbringer attack.
Yes.
There used to be funerals, but there were a few problems with those events. Eulogies for villains like Kaiser were problematic, to say the least. Skipping detailed honoring of villains was also problematic and led to retaliation. There was a lot of concern over, who gets the spotlight. The funerals became media circuses, and eventually the practice died out and they started doing memorials, or at least in Brockton Bay's case. They created a memorial. No snubs. Sometimes a statue, sometimes, and in this case, just a simple stone obelisk with names. It's been erected atop Captain's Hill, an area close to the mountainous part of Brockton Bay that overlooks the city and was basically not damaged. Meet the sea. Yeah, Captain's Hill is where the mountain meets the sea in Brockton Bay. And it is also a bit of a scene. Because this hill is untarnished, people come here, and even if they're not here for the memorial, they're picnicking because the city's devastated, and this is one of the only nice-ish parts left. It sounds like Brockton Bay is doing badly. There's still no power, running water in places. It's tough to get food. There are septic conditions. There's a lot of looting and crime. There are a lot of people evacuating, and it's a mess. The crater is still there. It hasn't drained. It may never drain. They are still cleaning up the wreckage of the buildings, the PHQ headquarters. Taylor walks around the monument. We see some lists of names. Some of the names listed have their civilian identities revealed. Some of them don't. We learn that Gallant is dead.
Yeah.
Not confirmed during the battle so far, but that's a notable death that we hadn't heard of. Taylor sees that the first cape that she saved, the one with the injured leg, who she realized was Iron Falcon, had died of his wounds, sometime after she saved him, and she feels sad, disappointed, she's unsure. And as Taylor circles the memorial at the end of the list, there's a little bit of space because there was an uneven number of names, and she sees etched into the memorial the names of 8 dogs in very crude, misspelled writing. And Taylor realizes that bitch must have come to, in the middle of the night to add the dogs to the memorial. And there's a father there who sort of makes a comment at Taylor like, oh, I can't believe vandalism. And Taylor, sticks up for bitch a little bit, and a girl's voice chimes in agreeing with her. And Taylor looks up to see Lisa. Lisa has approached Taylor and wants to know how she's doing. We learned that Taylor has not gone home. She has been staying in a shelter. There are a lot of shelters for people who lost their homes. We learn over the course of the chapter she's surviving, but she doesn't have a lot of money. She has been losing her temper and getting into fights. In particular, the last few nights, she's gotten very little sleep. And, she says a little bit about the logistics of this to Lisa, but she doesn't get into the deeper emotional stuff. And, Lisa emphasizes again, I want to know if you're okay, like more than just like what's going on, literally with you. And Taylor changes the subject to say, so you knew about my secret, my wannabe hero status. And then Lisa immediately apologizes. Taylor's like, I was the one who's going to betray you. And Lisa's like, yeah, but you didn't. And I've been lying, manipulating you, keeping it a big secret, and I'm really sorry. And Lisa reveals that she's known the whole time. And actually, she's known since before she met Taylor. And Taylor's like, that doesn't make any sense. And they step away where nobody can hear them, so that Lisa can give a deeper explanation. Lisa kind of comments offhand that, I didn't think we'd win. Taylor's like, did we win? And she says, well, yeah, we're alive, which means we won. And then Lisa gets into it. She says, no more secrets, and, make sure to keep some of this between us. But imagine you're trying to get around a city, you're trying to go somewhere, and you come to a junction, and you can go left or you can go right, and you're not sure which is the way that's going to be the best way to get to your destination. What if you could simply pick both? You could go left and go right, learn which is your preferred path, and then decide that the world where you chose to go left, that's the better one, is the one you live in, and the world where you chose to go right doesn't exist. And, let's get out of the hypotheticals, and to put a fine point on it, let's say you could do this. You're limited to a single branch, or, two paths, two branching paths at once. And the only thing that can be different is your choices and the way you act on the world. And Taylor's like, okay, yeah, so we're not talking hypotheticals, we're talking about Coil's power. And Lisa says, yeah. We learn that Coil likes to influence the capes under his control by either telling them to do something in one branch and not telling them to do it in the other branch, or perhaps having them do something, but putting his thumb on the scales by, say, calling them and saying, hey, be extra careful this time. Or to say, hey, be really direct, make sure that this happens as fast as possible, right? Push them in slightly different directions, and then after getting the results, decide which outcome is better. And with the Undersiders, he's been doing this. He was at the bank job. There were 2 bank jobs ongoing. He kept one set of Undersiders in reserve when they attacked the Gala. He wasn't involved with the Bakata situation. And in the fight with Empire 88, where they fought Night and Fog, and he told our Undersiders to be cautious, in the other timeline, things went really, really bad. So, getting back to how Lisa knew, the night they were going to fight Loom, our version of the Undersiders were again the cautious version. They hung back, they got into a little fight with some of the ABB, drove off Oni Lee, and then Coil called and said, hey, Lisa, in my other timeline, you guys went straight to Loom and fought him, and a junior hero showed up and got involved and tried to fight all of you at once. And, it was bad, Loom was too strong, sort of things didn't go well. But that alternate Lisa managed to report back to me, so now I'm giving you that intel. So if you engage Loom, be on the lookout, maybe it's a new ward, who knows? And of course, we know what happened. They show up, they delay long enough that Loom and Skitter get into a fight, and the Undersiders go in to save her, and it's Gru, actually, who just makes the assumption that Taylor is a villain instead of a hero. And Lisa, in the moment, decides to roll with it. And by the time their first conversation was over, she'd hatched this plan to recruit Taylor to the Undersiders. And Taylor takes it okay. She, doesn't say she forgives Lisa, but she says it's okay and that joining the Undersiders is not something she regrets. Dinah, the situation with her dad, the situation just now in the hospital, those are all things that are on her list of regrets, but not the Undersiders. And Tattletale says, okay, well, what's next for you? We can't undo that stuff, but we can fix things. You could go reunite with your dad. You guys could leave the city, or I could make sure that nobody messes with you guys. I was sort of assuming you hadn't gone home because you were worried about leading us back to your dad. And Taylor says, no, that's not it. I'm still hurt. I'm still kind of mad. I'm not ready to face him yet. I don't want to go back to how things were. And Lisa's like, okay, well, I know you're not going to join the wards. You obviously don't want to go to the birdcage. So, what are you going to do? Taylor says, I don't know. And Lisa says, okay, well, maybe it's because you want to come back to the Undersiders and you don't know how to make that happen. And Taylor's like, that wouldn't work out. I don't think they'd have me back, and I'm not going to change my mind about Coil and Dinah. That's a non-negotiable. And Lisa gives her a hard sell. She's like, look, you don't need to be this stubborn. Let's talk, right? You don't have to decide anything now, but let's talk. Maybe you'll change your mind, right? Obviously, you're going to have to make some sacrifices if you want things to work out. And, I hear you're saying it's never going to happen, but what's the harm in just hearing me out? And Taylor looks out over the city. She thinks about her purpose or lack of purpose and looks over at Lisa. And Lisa says, I was going to ask you, you care about friends or morals or what, but it seems like my powers told me you've just made a decision. Taylor thinks, I had to change things. I had to be better than them, than Armsmaster, Sophia, Coil, and all the others. And she turns to Tattletale, and Tattletale's like, okay, you've decided something, but does it feature the Undersiders? We end the chapter in book 1 of Worm with, I gave her my answer.
So coy. I mean, yeah, it's such a huge inflection point. I mean, which makes sense. The city just got destroyed. How much bigger of a symbol could you have? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Everything that Taylor was doing before just completely smashed. And Lisa in this chapter is making a bid for maybe we can a little bit go back to before. But Taylor is looking ahead and she hasn't had any direction. I love the moment where she's like, I have to be better than them. It's such an echo of her thing with Mr. Gladly in the fight where she's like, I have to do better than Mr. Gladly. And now she's like, I have to do better than Armsmaster and Sophia and Coil and everyone. Mm-hmm. It makes me think sometimes you'll talk in particularly fan fiction because, there's all sorts of varieties of quality of fan fiction. That's one of the great things about it. But sometimes you'll read something, you'll be like, this is really inspiring in that I want to do this, but better. This is a great idea, but I just want to do it better. And this feels like that kind of inspiration. She's getting inspiration from other people's flaws. Yes. And that's so funny because one thing that I've learned from having this podcast and reading stuff Wildbow has posted is that I sort of could read Worm and be like, oh wow, this is a love letter to superhero comics and somebody who's really into superhero stories and responding to all these things. And actually, while Wildbow was a casual fan of some comics, I think as we've discussed before, he was into a few and then a bunch of them went south over the course of a couple of years, the ongoings he was following. And part of his motivation to create Worm was you know what, I can do better than that. Yeah. And it's, sometimes that motivation leads to very, very excellent things. Yeah. I mean, better, I assume, in terms of quality of story. But also, I feel like in Taylor, I'm making a big leap here because I don't know what happens in the rest of the story. But I feel like he is building someone who wants to do better as a hero than any of those heroes do. Because those heroes are always scions, right? They're always, they're not always at science level, but they're always reacting to crises. Mm-hmm. And, there's the whole thing about why doesn't Superman just generate the infinite power or whatever? And this is sort of a bigger version of that question where it's well, why can't they make the world better in profound, fundamental ways? Yeah. And I think that's what Taylor is going to try to do. Yeah. I don't know in what direction she's going going to do it. The Endbringer thing seems like an obvious piece where, I mean, who knows how she would try to stop the Endbringers. She seems like she's made a really concrete decision. Maybe it's just like, I will figure out how to break down the Endbringers. I assume it's more concrete. Like if Lisa sees her deciding, like I assume she has a little more direction at least where to start.
And she has a clear answer to the question about the Undersiders.
Right.
So it's clear enough.
Kind of plan.
It's clear enough that she can say yes or no.
Yeah, and that's such an interesting question. Like, where would you start if you wanted to? I don't know if it's about the Endbringers. Maybe it's about making the Protectorate better. That's such a hard, like, how do you fix people's personalities?
Yeah.
Like, that's an impossible task.
Well, can I read some of Taylor's reflection on her purpose?
Yeah.
I guess, like, okay, so she starts out with, I don't like or even respect any of the heroes I've met. I don't even see the point of it. As villains, we face down other villains. It wasn't so different from what I'd be doing as a hero, but what did we really accomplish? What does anyone accomplish if all we end up with is this? I gestured out at the cityscape stretching out below us. Then later, so many dead, so pointless. What was wrong with this world that it was this fucked up? That people like Sophia and Armsmaster were heroes? That there couldn't even be a proper funeral for the people who had given their lives because of a small handful of grandstanding idiots? And then the part I read before, I had to change things. I had to be better than them.
Yeah.
There are two really clear components of it, right? There's the being a truer, like, version of a hero.
Right, not filling the social role, maybe, but being what we mean when we say Taylor is a hero.
Right, and then there's, like what the chapter is about more broadly, like, kind of making sense of the senselessness of the ruin of Brockton Bay.
Yeah.
Right, and there's a little bit of, like, maybe an implication of, like, fixing the city, but it feels bigger picture
broader.
than that.
Yeah. It's more like, so this kind of thing doesn't happen, is my sense. A lot of what I had to say during the Endbringer attack was like, these guys are doing it so badly. And I wonder if that is sort of setting up Taylor to do it better.
Yeah.
If I were going to try to fight the Endbringers better, and I don't know that that's her purpose, though that does seem like the biggest problem we've encountered, so potentially.
Yeah.
I would go find Dragon.
Oh, say more.
Just because, like, I feel like she's incredibly smart. She built the birdcage. She knows how to solve big problems.
Yeah.
And she has this personal history that I guess Taylor doesn't know, but I don't know. Having had the Endbringers destroy her homeland, I think that she probably would be very committed to doing it. But, like, really the best thing the dragons come up with is, like, a personal mech suit and armbands. Like, she could do better. She could do so much better.
It's too bad that Taylor doesn't have, like, a personal connection to a cape who knows Dragon really well.
Does she?
Armsmaster.
Oh, well... Personal connection. That might be putting that strongly.
They've had multiple conversations. He's in the V.
They certainly are acquainted.
Personal doesn't have to be good.
That's true. A close personal enemy.
That's also the kind of thing, like, as readers and having had these, like, interludes, right? It's like, we can see potential there, but, like, what is Taylor,
No, I mean, she doesn't know.
Yeah.
But
I guess, right, like, Lisa's talked to Alexandria now. Like, that's maybe also
Alexandria could be another one.
Connection.
But I feel like maybe you would approach a cape like that, but, like, also, how is she going to have cred with them? What is she going to be able to do to help them? I really don't have any clue there.
Well, there's also, the thing that I would pose to you is, what we have learned, right, is that in the next 3 to 6 months, there will be another Endbringer attack.
Somewhere
In the world.
Yeah, and they don't have good teleporters. Or they don't have the best teleporter.
Right, but the question is, from, being homeless and having no allies, how does Taylor get there? Like, if that is her purpose, how does she get there? And it's a tough thing just thinking about it if you were Taylor, and it also feels like, and this is sort of a getting into, like, book 2 of Worm thing. It's like, we haven't really built anything to get Taylor
everything
there,
that she's built has just been destroyed.
Yeah.
Literally, like, the physical and the sort of...
Of course, book 2 could be about anything, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you can take it in whatever direction you want, but it's tough to imagine because there's so many different ways it could go from here. Just how she connects those dots.
Yeah, and I was just saying, like, I'd probably approach a high up cape. Like, on reflection, Taylor would not do that.
Yeah.
She just got so burned by the, you know, prominent capes. And, like, Legend and Miss Militia were pretty decent in that conversation. But, like, you know, Legend was trying to force her into the wards and or revealing her face to Sophie. Like, she probably didn't come away feeling great about any high up capes. And so I don't think she would put herself in in the power of one of them, nor would she be excited to trust them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I'm framing it in my mind as, like, who she would go to, because, I mean, like you said, she can't do this alone.
Yeah.
And there's also the question of, like, what was her answer to Lisa?
Well, what do you think?
It's gotta be yes, right? Like,
well,
what is the point if it's no? What is the narrative point of having these characters? I mean, they could get involved in a different way later, but I do think they are the people that she knows and, I want to say trusts. I don't think she trusts them in all ways, but she trusts her knowledge of them. They are known quantities, at least to a great extent. And she has
familiar tools in the tool belt.
Exactly. And she has very few tools right now. So, I think it will involve them, but, like, to do what?
Yeah, how then to reconcile that with her statement of never. This will never happen. Just a few pages before. Do you have any thoughts about that?
She's never going to accept Dinah, which was what Lisa said.
Right.
So Lisa was saying, like, Lisa was trying to convince her to come back to the Undersiders and saying, like, you'd have to make concessions. You'd have to really start talking to us, and you'd probably have to accept Dinah, you know, like, eat some crow. And I do think Taylor would never do that. So she would never side with Coil.
Yeah.
But I do think she would probably be willing to get the Undersiders to work with her on some stuff. And we do have the thing where the Undersiders agreed to face an Endbringer.
Yeah.
There actually wasn't a huge narrative effect of that. Like, I mean, they were around and that did make a difference, but I wonder if the main reason, aside from just wanting those characters we care about to be at stake in the battle, like, they would probably not be willing to devote their whole lives to fighting Endbringers, but they do care about the Endbringers not destroying at least their city.
Yeah.
So I do feel like there maybe would be some motivation, especially she's got $250,000 in a bank account, especially if she paid them.
Yeah.
Like, if she wants to break into, well, PHQ is gone. If she wants to, like, steal Armsmaster's data on how Endbringers act and, like, figure out how to, you know, if she needs them for that kind of heist, like, they might be willing to do it for a cause that they theoretically support.
Interesting.
And for an additional incentive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So you're almost pitching, I think, Skitter turning into Fault Line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not
sort of
exactly,
having a more mercenary relationship. Like, you guys are a team I trust, and I'll, you know, figure out, you know, you don't need to care about it the way I do.
More Skitter trying to turn the Undersiders into Fault Line's crew.
Sure.
Where she wouldn't be the Fault Line figure.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I do feel like part of it for the Undersiders, certainly for Lisa, is they showed up to fight the Endbringer and the city's still here. Like, it's awful what happened. They didn't all die, right? They didn't give up on the city. And so there's an extent to which, like, of course, the larger Endbringer threat is interesting, but I think, you know, Taylor, I still feel like she's like, well, of course, you know, this is a problem worth solving. Like, that's kind of what her purpose reflection is going to. But I feel like the others might be more thinking of it as like, well, you got to show up to defend the city. And there's a question. There's a question of what's left.
They would be independently motivated to bring down the Endbringers, but just that they are willing to go out of their way a little bit.
I think the question for me is like, what's left for them in Brockton Bay? It's sort of like, when is
if they're working for Coil, I don't know if Coil still has plans on the city, because he can kind of rebuild it from the ground up now, maybe.
Right. And I guess what I'm getting at is the very symbolic loss of the loft, right? So you were mentioning it's sort of the end of book one. Lisa's kind of like, return to us. It can all go back. But of course it can't, because literally, like, the loft that we've been in from arcs 2 through 7, it doesn't exist anymore.
And that's what you meant when you said there's a lot of fan fiction set. I mean, it's not quite 20%, but like 20% into the book when they're all like hanging out at the loft together. And now the loft is gone. Yeah. And Taylor's not an undersider.
But yeah, and I think it's fair. I can circle back to that and say it because it's clear now, right? This arc it's a little bit of a tone shift, the sort of switch to just it's a war movie now, right? Yeah. Like, but also
our theme music changed.
Right. But there's kind of no going back from this, and the story now demands there be something different.
Yeah.
And you could imagine the fan fiction that sort of, Buffyifies the first 8 arcs and is like, well,
this goes on forever.
This dynamic, these, street level fighting gangs, and it's like, let's keep that going. You can spin that out, right, for 7 seasons, and the story's clearly trying to do something more. Not that they're, not that those types of scale conflicts are off the table going forward.
Oh, no, of course not.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about it as, what is the biggest problem? And thinking that Taylor would try to solve that. But I wonder if she would take more of an approach of, where can I be the most helpful? And I wonder if there's anything involving bugs, because we really haven't seen bugs much in a while. The cockroaches stole some keys. The bugs were lookouts for her with Leviathan, but I wonder if there is some way that she thinks she can make the world better that involves her specific power. What's the help she can best give rather than the help that is most needed? Because, that's where she's going to be able to make the biggest impact.
I love the idea of, her going into the pesticide business, where she just shows up to your farm, gets all of the bugs, and there are no bugs until, they fly in from elsewhere.
Well, yeah. She would make a killing.
Yeah.
That would be a great, gig, a sort of rogue gig for her. You probably wouldn't want to get rid of all the bugs, but the ones that are harmful. It would be a subtle skill.
She knows.
She'd be great.
Exactly.
She'd be great at it. She's going to transform agriculture.
Right.
That just doesn't seem to be where the story is going. But,
Skitter would never. Taylor would never, right? She's not, I feel like that's just...
She's not a businesswoman.
Right, that's not who she is, right? She is more direct.
Yes.
She, is willing to throw her body on the line, but she hasn't shown a tendency towards the more sort of abstract type, uses of her powers like that. That doesn't mean that she can't grow into that, but that's not who she is.
She's always using her powers differently, but yeah. Maybe she'll go on an expedition to find the Endbringers using crabs.
Yes. Gotta get these crabs in here.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, she's gonna think back over Arc 8 and be like, the main problem was that I didn't have access to crabs. So we gotta go get a boat and... get
a whole ton of crabs.
Right. Yeah, right. So the ecosystem's devastated, but this is in, Gloucester or, Portsmouth or Acadia or something. So, you gotta just get out there on the fishing boats,
Yeah.
drum up some seafood business.
She could be such a crab fisherwoman.
Yeah.
No, but I don't know. I don't know what it would be where her power specifically would be helpful, but it's an interesting angle on it.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll use spider silk to build, the spider silk stuff is so slow, it wouldn't really be practical, but to build shelters for people. I don't know, man. It's tough.
Do you want to read?
I'm glad I don't have to write the rest of this book.
Do you want to read book 2 of Worm, where it's her agriculture and fishery business? Do you think that's content you're excited about?
I bet it would be really fun to read.
The procedural stuff that Wildbow writes is really good.
Really good. Yeah. I would read that.
There's an interesting thing. One thing that I think is really effective in this chapter, while we're talking about bigger picture stuff, the fact that we lose almost 2 weeks with Taylor, it really creates a new distance between...
I feel distant from her and her experience.
Right, between us and her. And we missed all of those procedural details about, how did I find a shelter? How did I find a bed?
Really
Who
great
did I
skit.
talk to? Right. So it's so effective that, we get... I don't know, the other time jumps we've had, which have only been a week here, a week there, it's so easy to fill in the blanks. But Taylor now has a new normal. It's not a comfortable one, but we missed it. And the cliffhanger keeps us again at a remove.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. We don't know what she decided or even what her answer to Lisa was.
Right.
And I think that does reflect really well how Taylor feels distant from everything in her life right now. She doesn't feel connected.
Yeah.
And she is completely unmoored and can choose a new direction.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not true. Well, she is choosing to not live at home, but we learn her home is still standing.
Her home is still there. She's choosing not to live there, yeah.
Yeah, and she's not ready to go home.
Yeah.
And that's a lot. I think those are familiar. There's a lot of I can't own up to what I did, or like I can't face my dad, but there's also a little bit of like I'm still mad at him.
Yeah.
That like he didn't cut me more slack,
He
right?
thinks she's dead, I bet.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
God, I hope she's at least let him know she's alive.
I hope so too. Yeah.
Oh, poor Danny. Danny must really be going through it.
Yeah.
All right, here's what I want for the next interlude. In the vein of we're being distant from Taylor, I want us to return to Danny's perspective.
Ooh.
And have Taylor come see him.
Ooh.
And tell him what she's been doing and enlist his help for the next step of the plan.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be really fun.
I love that. So yeah, following up, like kind of taking some of Lisa's advice, not the stuff about accepting Dinah, but the stuff about you can go back, hash things out with your dad.
Well, because she wasn't ready, but now she's made a new decision and has a new sense of direction. She might be in a different place.
Yeah, maybe she can feel better enough about herself to reach out and make that connection.
And it's the first interlude of book 2. We can return to the first interlude of book 1, which was Danny.
That's right. And we'll go through all the same interlude characters in order.
Book 2 is not actually a structure that exists in the work. I don't think we'll go to all the same characters in order, but it would be fun if there were some, like, thematic repetition. It'd be fun to... I'm sure Glory Girl's doing something interesting these days.
Yeah.
Lost her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Lost her uncle and her cousin.
Yeah. So the Gallant thing, that's a big one.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not a big deal to Taylor, but it felt like a big deal to me just because we're somewhat invested in New Wave. And, we had, like, Gallant was very close to the main character in that interlude where we were in the ward's headquarters, right? Like there was a lot of stuff devoted to him, and it's rough to learn that we have lost him here.
And he had like family business in Brockton Bay, but that's probably destroyed. Like,
right. All
of the plot threads have been smashed. It's funny, like last time I was like, well, what's going to happen? I guess she'll talk to Lisa, which I was correct about. And I was like, I guess, I don't know, maybe she'll talk to the protectorate about the Emperor. Like, I was struggling to come up with what the next step is, and I guess that makes sense because so is Taylor. Yeah. This feels very fitting to like my struggles in predictions.
All right, I think I want to let you in on some worm lore based on what we've been talking about.
Okay.
There is an infamous piece of fan lore about how Wildbow crafted the Leviathan fight.
Okay.
I'll tell you about it, and then I'll tell you the two things that I think are really interesting about it.
Okay.
Basically, he figured out what are the odds of every character surviving this battle. And he used dice as an aid to generate some options for how the Leviathan fight might play out. And picked a result that was like workable. And wrote that.
That makes so much sense to me because there has to be some randomness. And if you're just figuring out as an author, you're like, well, am I biased towards, nameless, like random anonymous capes? Am I biased towards main characters? Am I biased towards heroes or villains? Like it would be very hard to actually make it feel random. And it did feel random.
Yeah. And, it's, I think, important to say it's not like he felt bound to it. Like, I'm sure if he hadn't gotten good results. Right. But, he simulated it, and the odds of each person surviving or not were calibrated. It wasn't, like, random for each character,
so
in the same way.
So based on, like, their strength and
where they would, their
attack,
position in the battle, that kind of thing. And one of the things I wanted to say about it is it clicked something into place for me about Wildbow writing as a gardener. Tying it to dice as like a writing tool or even like an improv tool just reminds me of like GMing a tabletop game. And I feel like Wildbow has that sensibility as an author, and especially in the Parahumans universe where he approached the story from so many different directions with so many potential protagonists. Like, he knows the bench so deeply and the factions so deeply. I really feel like the version of Worm that we got is a version that I love, but I really feel like Wildbow could have written it so many different ways, right? And part of the joy of this whole writing thing is that it was built chapter by chapter in the same way that a tabletop campaign goes session to session, and there's no going back, right, in that kind of activity and that kind of storytelling, and you still have incredible, masterful storytelling done in that format. And so that sort of author as game master aspect is something that is one of Wildbow's like greatest strengths.
It really feels like that to me, because that's something you get in a tabletop role-playing game where there's so much world and most of it's not relevant.
Yeah. And
that is what we get in these first 8 arcs of Worm, where so much is built and then most of it is just destroyed. Like, it's such a flex, honestly. Like, I mean, I built all these characters and their complex interactions, but like, whatever, I can make more. Like,
yeah.
I built such a rich world. Like, there's still enough left even after I destroyed like 75% of it.
Right.
Yeah, because usually in novels, like, maybe you do sacrifice a couple of people for the sake of, like, showing that it was a really terrible battle or whatever. But, like, usually you want to be tighter than that. Like, you want to build the things you're going to need, even if what you need them for is a tragic death. And in this case, he built so much that he could create this intense, like, epic destruction with this element of randomness where so much gets destroyed and there's still enough to be going on with the story with.
Yeah. The second thing I want to tell you about this is that Taylor was, like every other cape, eligible to be killed.
What?
She did not have any sort of like protagonist bonus.
She didn't have plot armor?
No plot armor for Taylor.
What, would the story just have ended?
No. Wildbow was planning to continue on with a new protagonist. And in fact, he was thinking maybe Aegis could take over.
Oh, whoa. That would have been really wild.
So, Worm was not really seriously Taylor's story until Arc 8.
Ooh.
Which I cannot imagine Worm...
No.
I think that Worm would be diminished not seeing it all the way through with Taylor's story. Because there's she's such a compelling character. There's so much going on. It's not like dead Taylor wouldn't have influenced the rest of the story. But Wildbow, I think he's talked about, it might have been like Worm Wednesdays, and he would have like another character take over on Saturdays, and like you could do kind of a switching around different perspectives, locations, kind of building the Parahumans world, right? It's the Parahumans web serial is the URL. It's not Worm, Worm web serial, right? And so I think at this point is when Taylor survives this dice roll and Wildbow really figures out, like, okay, I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to kind of, like, make this what it ends up being. And I think finally abandons all of those sort of different concepts for it. So...
that sounds like Coil's power.
Yes. Well, we should talk about Coil's power.
Oh, we will, yeah.
But... the fact that Taylor beats the odds in a meta-textual sense gives so much more meaning to her, like, tenacity as a protagonist.
Yeah.
It's just like a beautiful meta-textual thing that our hero did not have plot armor, but there was a good dice roll, like...
it never occurred to me that he would kill her in that battle.
Yeah.
I can't believe it occurred to him. That's wild.
Yeah.
Goodness. I mean, he's really embarking on a writing project that's not, like we said, it's not a series of novels. This isn't novel 1 in a series.
Yeah.
It's its own thing.
And to my point about, like, tabletop role-playing games, a player character dies, it's sad, but you roll a new character and the world keeps turning, right? It's very much of that mindset.
Yeah.
So I also feel comfortable saying this is not an ongoing thing. This was kind of a one-and-done thing for Arc 8, and that the rest of the story proceeds as like, okay, well, here's book 1, and how am I going to write the rest of it?
Right.
And...
I'm curious if he had a vague sense that whatever he's planning for Taylor, like this whole intention, this plan maybe that she has, would that have been Aegis's goal as well?
I think
I don't know. I mean, you probably can't answer that.
Yeah, I think that I can't answer that. My take is there's stuff that in the first book of Worm that is foreshadowing for the rest of the story, right? And it's just because, Taylor continues to be the character, it continues to be her story, so of course things build on what came before. And some of it's probably also clever, like retroactive foreshadowing of like, here's an element that I can pull. Right. And I think there are events that play out in the world, right? Like a character in the Brockton Bay scene, right, means that we would get to continue following the story of the city, right? And there are other events that would probably play out similarly. I feel like knowing the story that Wildbow wants to tell, you can sort of imagine how it would play out with a different character, but how the themes would survive and how like the feeling of the work overall would translate to a different character are much harder for me to see than just, well, how would an approximation of the plot happen? Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a question you have to answer. It's just a question to be out there. I'm just curious when we see what Taylor's future is. Yeah.
So we've been talking for a while and we haven't gotten into the details of the chapter at all, which makes sense. But do you want to talk a little bit about Coil, about
Coil's
Lisa?
power is so cool. Oh my gosh. It did not occur to me that that's how it could work. So like you said, it's like he can walk two branching paths. Parallel universes have just been canonized in this world, but they only exist for Coil.
Yeah.
And there can only be two at a time, and then one of them has to be collapsed.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be other ways in which there are parallel universes in this world.
It does suggest a lot of metaphysical questions.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, powers don't make sense, as we've discussed.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it is funny, like, he can create two branches, but he has to do something in each branch to make them different enough for his power to matter.
Right.
Which, that makes so much sense. It's very much in line with the kind of power that he wants over the city. Like, he wants to control everything because that will give him really good different branches.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta worm your way into the system.
Worm your way.
Yeah.
I wonder if he ever has situations, and I mean, I guess he does probably have situations where like one really good thing happens in one branch and then another totally different really good thing happens in the other, and he has to like kill his darlings.
Yeah.
Just to be like, oh, but I really wanted this. Oh, but okay, I guess I'll go with this other branch.
Yeah. No, I know.
And then he has to mourn for that thing that never, like, that must actually be really hard to know, like, oh, I almost met the love of my life, but I had to choose this other thing.
I do kind of love that as a sort of like, what if a normal person had Coil's power? Because like the things are like, how do I win the mayoral election? It's like, how do I find love? Very different type of thing.
It would be so fun. I think you'd go insane trying to do it but like, it would be so fun to live with Coil's power, or like to experiment with Coil's power and be like, what if I go talk to that person? And if it goes badly, I could just collapse it.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, I keep talking with Moose about like how you use Coil's power. Well, you go out to a nice restaurant, you order 2 meals, and then you collapse into the one that you liked better, or the one where you feel less full. Then you can get dessert.
Oh, yeah. You have one reality where you just like massively overeat and it's really fun, but then you feel sick and you get rid of that reality.
Yeah, it's great. Like
just like the vices you could enable. You try some drugs, did it go well? Yeah, collapse that reality.
You could enable. Yeah. That's real. One metaphysical thing, we learn about 2 Lisas that call back to Coil with the possibility of their timeline being collapsed.
Yeah.
We have Lisa calling and being like, well, we fought Lung and it went really bad. And because this wannabe hero messed things up. And that Lisa doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Never existed in some way. Like, not really sure how to think about it. It's not our Lisa.
No, it's also canon, though. It's like that chapter.
Right.
It's still canon.
I'm glad you connected the dot there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's
best explanation for how that's still canon.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Amazing. But we learned that Lisa called Coil after the Dinah thing went down and basically said, like, hey, collapse this timeline.
And he's like, no, I've got other things going on now.
Which is, again, me imagining Lisa, like, without getting into spoilers, it's like The Prestige or these other things with, like, sort of, like, different versions of a person. Like, what would have happened if Coil had collapsed that timeline, right? Like,
Taylor wouldn't have known about Dinah.
No, right, but what would have happened to the reality we were reading? I guess Wildbow would have had to delete all the chapters and write it again from scratch or whatever, but... Yeah, so it opens some metaphysical doors that are very interesting, and we certainly don't have enough information to get answers. But...
It does make me wonder, before he found out about the Endbringer, do we think Coil was telling the Undersiders about Dinah in a reality he was prepared to collapse if they took it badly?
100%.
You think?
100%. When the Endbringer comes up, it's so bad that he decides, like, well, like, this is not a kill your darlings version. This is a, like, oh, this is bad. The Endbringer's coming in both timelines, which is the one that I think I have a better chance of making progress from. Mm-hmm. So I absolutely think that, given how sort of, if he was able to pick up on how badly that was going, that's a timeline that just gets collapsed and he does it a different way.
Yes.
You'll remember he invited them super early in the morning, to prepare them to go out for like a Kaiser raid or whatever. So maybe he just keeps that timeline live until the raid happens, sees how that goes, right? And then in the other timeline, they don't do anything, right?
Great point. Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely my take. Is that that was not Coil's preferred timeline, but the Endbringer thing messed it up.
It is so funny to think about, because Lisa says, like, these are the places where he did have her back. Like, he did have their back at the bank job, but in both versions, they were still fighting at the bank.
Yes.
And he did not have their backs during the Bakata thing. So when I thought it was just like, oh, he tilts odds somehow, I was like, oh, the thing where Taylor made that, like, wonderful knife stab and it really worked out well. I was like, oh, that must have been his influence. But no, he actually wasn't involved with them at all.
Right.
And he doesn't have that level of control.
Right.
Which did make me wonder. He said that the Undersiders are more impacted by his power than the Travelers. Like, I guess maybe they're more susceptible. Maybe actually because they have Lisa.
Yeah.
Who is very good at manipulating.
They're good teammates, right? It's always like give them two chances, right? Or the sort of like ask them to play it tactically differently, they're
like
more
flexible.
They're more
maybe?
flexible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was so curious. I mean, we don't have to stop talking about Coil, but it never occurred to me that Lisa would have known that Taylor was a wannabe hero and have been playing her. I just did not imagine that could be true because it seemed like what they were giving her was so much like deep access. Mm-hmm. I'm very pleased, by the way, that I called that she knew from the beginning. Mm-hmm. I did not know she knew before she even met Taylor, which is very cool. But I assumed she figured it out on that rooftop. But yeah, I wonder what she lied about and what she withheld and in what ways she was manipulating Taylor. Like, certainly all the stuff about like becoming friends and stuff, like even if it was somewhat honest the way it was on Taylor's side, it was also a manipulation, again, like it was on Taylor's side.
Right.
But what was her intention with all of this? She said, like, it was interesting enough that she kept it going, but what was her end game? Did she think that Taylor would change her mind? Or did she think that she had given Taylor enough false information that like did she have a backup plan? Right.
So are you asking like if Lisa had been wrong and then like arc 3 when she goes to Armsmaster and Armsmaster's a nice guy and like turned them all in.
Right.
Like, was Lisa willing to kind of bear that risk?
Yeah.
And if she was taking on some risk, which certainly she was, she's not.
Oh yeah.
She's not seeing the future, right? She's just seeing where things are in front of her. Why would she take on that risk?
Right. I mean, they needed another teammate. Did she actually think Taylor'd become a long-term one? Because what a horrible blow to the stability of the group if she doesn't. I mean, right now, it probably is a horrible blow to the stability of the group.
Yeah.
They've all been really disheartened.
Yeah.
And demoralized. They're down one of their strongest, offensive powers.
Yeah.
They lost their loft. Was she bored? Like, she says it was interesting enough that I let it keep going, but, like, was she really craving something interesting? Like, fighting for Coil wasn't interesting enough?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. What are some of the possibilities? I mean...
She really wanted a friend?
Yeah, right. So there is that question of what was a line, what was a manipulation, and how much of the emotional intimacy was faked, right? Because there's a reason, sort of like, there was a connection, some spark of friendship, some reason,
Taylor kind of became friends with her despite herself. Yeah.
Right. All the stuff that she said when they were shopping together about, like, hey, I see potential in you, like, if you stopped second guessing yourself and started making some bold choices, like, you could really make something of yourself. Now, is that manipulation of, like, well, I'm going to be her friend so that she won't turn us in, ha 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 ha? Or is it like, well, actually, I do see potential here and I'm going to make it work to my benefit, as well.
Yeah.
Sort of like it's a win-win, right?
I mean, the best lies are mostly truth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it doesn't even have to be a lie to have ulterior motives. But yeah, like, did she think it doesn't seem like she thought she could win Taylor over. But maybe that is what she thought.
And is that challenge the kind of thing that Lisa likes?
Maybe she wanted to crack her like a pin number.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's, maybe she did want to win Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't really say that, but could very well be true.
You go back to, say, like, the cops and robbers speech.
Oh.
Right?
She's trying to convince Taylor that being a hero isn't better than being a villain.
Yeah, right. So it's another question is, does Lisa believe any of that? Right? Like, is it a good lie because it's founded on what she actually believes? Or is that an example of, like, well, I wouldn't believe this, but, like, this is the kind of thing that a wannabe hero like Taylor would believe, and I'm just gonna, or not that she would believe it, but that she would, maybe be a little bit persuaded. Like, is this a seed I can plant? This is the kind of thing
she needs to hear. Yeah.
Right. So, like, I feel like it's an open question of, like, how cynical and manipulative, like, derogatory is it versus, like, to me,
how
I
much
feel
does
like
it reflect her real
to me, I feel like, given the end of Arc 7, the end of Arc 8, she's going through so much effort to reach out to this person.
Yeah, true.
It doesn't really feel that plausible to me that the, like, maximally, like, mastermindy, manipulative person who, like, I don't think she's like a cat toying with Taylor.
No,
there must be something. There must be something real there. But as we saw,
I think her end game probably was Taylor becomes a real member of the Undersiders.
As we saw in Lisa's interlude, she getting to her emotional core is tough, right? Like, I think we don't really know how to make it all add up, or like. Maybe she struggles to know what of her is real and what of her is kind of like the persona she puts on, right? Like, but it's. I feel like this chapter both opens up the sort of like, oh my god, can we trust anything this girl has been saying? Yeah. Like, is she totally a fakerson? But it also suggests that there must be something real to their friendship. Yeah. Because otherwise, what's she doing here? Yeah. And I was looking back, like, the end of every arc since Arc 3, like, involves Lisa in a meaningful way. Really? We have them escaping, going off with the dog in the darkness after the bank job together, Taylor and Lisa. We have Brian, Lisa, and Taylor on the couch after the Bacata fight at Taylor's house. We have Lisa and Taylor talking about bitch and learning how she thinks. We have Lisa coming to pick Taylor up when she's leaving the house with Danny. Oh my gosh, We have Lisa finding Taylor at the loft before the Endbringer fight. And now we have Lisa again coming to Taylor. And it like, thinking about that, it just really underscores, like, we've spent a lot more like plot, I guess, on like getting to know bitch, the will they won't they with Brian, but that Lisa really has kind of earned that best friend feeling with the sort of consistency of being there. She's
like a through line. Yeah. And the end of Act 1, they had just met. I mean,
and Act 2, it's like all the Undersiders. Yeah.
I just don't feel like Taylor's answer to her at the end of this chapter could have been no.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Do you want some receipts about Lisa interacting with Taylor before this arc? I found some moments.
Sure, yeah.
Going back to that very first scene. Introduction's done. Gru looked at me for several long moments. After a few seconds, he asked me, "Hey, you okay? You hurt?" The reason she's not introducing herself isn't because she's hurt, Tattletale told him, as she continued to lean over the edge of the roof and watch whatever was going on at the street level. It's because she's shy. And then later in that scene, "Well, Bug, the cape is going to show up in less than a minute. You did us a solid by dealing with Loong, so take my advice. Someone from the Protectorate shows up, finds 2 bad guys duking it out. They're not going to let one walk away. You should get out of here," she said. She flashed me a smile. She had one of those vulpine grins that turned up at the corners. Behind her simple black domino-style mask, her eyes were glittering with mischief.
I'm now picturing her as the Grinch.
What? No.
That's the smile that really turns up.
No.
The Grinch is adorable, Ted.
No.
Okay, I take it back.
If she
doesn't look like the Grinch.
If she had green fur and a Santa suit, she would have made me think of a Grinch. She kind of did. Right there. Anyways. Oh my god.
That just took you out.
You completely derailed me.
I'm so sorry.
Skipping ahead to Arc 2. This is with the lunchbox full of money.
Yeah.
You have 2 choices, Lisa explained.
See?
You can take that as a gift. A thank you for, intentionally or not, saving our ass from Loong last night. And maybe a bit of incentive to count us among your friends when you're out in costume and doing dastardly deeds.
Oh, yep.
Her grin widened as if she'd said something she found amusing. Maybe it was the irony of a villain talking about dastardly deeds, or how corny the phrase was.
No. It was her knowing that Taylor didn't intend to do dastardly deeds in the first place.
And then the moment in Fugly Bobs in Arc 4, where they're talking about trigger events. I shook my head. You're not missing anything, Alec. We're looking at this from 2 very different perspectives. I don't really believe in that whole eye for an eye business. I was beginning to feel like I was getting control of the conversation again. Then Alec dropped his bombshell. Then why the fuck are you a supervillain? Escape. The word left my mouth almost immediately before I'd had a chance to even think about what it meant. I couldn't have taken the time to think before speaking, or they might have known something was up. Lisa almost certainly would have. A few tense moments passed, and I chanced to look at Lisa and Brian. Lisa was watching the dialogue, a small smile on her face, her chin resting on her palm.
She's so knowing.
Yeah, those are some of the moments that like jumped out to me on the reread and just like when I was thinking about this chapter is like the getting to see Lisa seeing Taylor, you know, in this knowing way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, Lisa says during this conversation when she's like trying to convince Taylor she can kind of return to the past and make it the future, I guess. Lisa's not thinking of it that way. She says, you might decide, like, you know, friendship is more important than morals. And that's so funny because that is how we've been framing her decision in Arc 6. I've been talking a lot about Arc 6. I really hope it was Arc 6. Otherwise, it's just really embarrassing that I've been calling it the wrong arc.
No, that's right.
Okay, great. And it is funny because Taylor did make that decision then. It was a very different context for her, though. She hadn't met Dinah. She hadn't faced an Endbringer. She had been fighting other villains alongside these villains. And now she's facing a context where, like, she would really have to explicitly... Like, she was kind of able to convince herself that she could preserve her morals mostly going into this stuff with the Undersiders, and then the Dinah thing really made it clear, like, oh, no, okay, there are some real deal breakers for her there. And Lisa saying, you would have to accept those deal breakers, but maybe it's worth it for friendship. And so she's actually asking her to make even a more compromising decision than she made in Arc 6. But, like, Taylor has changed also by now. I don't know if she would even make that same decision she made in Arc 6 now. She's certainly not going to make a more morally compromising one.
Well, that's interesting. the way you're framing that makes me feel like Lisa is acting as a much more emotionally intelligent Coil in this situation, right? She's holding out the hand of temptation of like, you can have your friends back. All you have to do is give up on that little Dinah issue, right? I don't think it's that sinister. Again, it was sort of what we were saying before, but I also feel like that's how Taylor takes the choice that Lisa's offering her. But I think that the hard sell, it's not right for Taylor. But I do think her advice is good. I think this is advice Taylor needs to hear. I think this is Taylor's comb over.
Oh.
She says, if she's going to come back, there's going to be a sacrifice on some level. And that starts with giving up that stubbornness, being willing to talk to them, to talk to me. You might even change your mind.
Yeah.
This part I was like, yeah. Like, I sort of think about this issue, Taylor's very unlikely to change her mind.
Yeah.
But I think this is the kind of thing that we saw just in the last arc where, like, she's in this awful situation. She, of course, can't explain why she's saying it. But Skitter is being told, like, hey, you could come be a ward. She says, nope, rather go to the birdcage.
Yeah.
Nope, no collateral.
If you actually talk to someone, you might even change your mind.
Right. So this is what Taylor
That's her comb over.
does, right? So I do think that Lisa's advice is good for Taylor to hear, even if the thing that she's arguing, for is not going to be something Taylor feels like or would want to eventually agree to.
I also think that what Lisa says about maybe you can't figure out how to move forward because you want to go back is true. And I think, I don't know, I have to revisit the text to see if this really checks out. But I think that's probably what she needs to hear in order for her to figure out how to move forward. Because she probably hasn't really reckoned in her mind with, can I or can I not ever go back to join the Undersiders? Like, I wonder if it's been sort of this unresolved, unaddressed possibility in her mind where she's like, that would be really cool. But, I mean, I have such conflicted feelings about it and I don't even know if it'd be possible. So she's just not even
And she's had this fantasy of
clearly.
like, well, after I betray them, maybe those relationships could be salvaged one day, right? Like
Right,
she thought about that
before.
arcs ago.
So I think this conversation with Lisa, what it does for Taylor is makes it clear that, like, I can never have that. I can't have it at least the way that Lisa's describing it. I can't have it like it was.
Yeah.
That house is destroyed.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, that loft is destroyed.
Yeah.
And once that possibility has collapsed for her, she's able to see a way forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that was clouding her vision.
I think that's a really good take. That's also making me realize, both in this chapter and at the end of Arc 7, Lisa leads with a desire to give Taylor an out. She's like, you don't need to go fight the Endbringer. Everyone would understand if you didn't. Here she's like, you can go home or leave the city and, like, I'll just protect you, right? Like, I sort of, maybe, again, you can make the argument, well, like, she knows Taylor's never going to say that, and she's just, this is part of her sort of, like, softening her up. But I kind of buy that, like, her instinct here, or that the real part of the connection is taking Taylor seriously about, like, what would be good for her in Lisa's estimation, and also what Taylor wants. There's a certain amount of, like, I feel like Lisa is actually listening to Taylor in a way that other people haven't.
That
and I'm
sounds
thinking,
right.
I'm thinking back to, again, that conversation in the mall when, like, Lisa's like, so you want us to help deal with your bullies, right? And again, cynically, she's like, oh, this is great. Like, most people, like, oh yeah, your villain friends will help you get revenge on the bullies. This is a free ticket to Breaking Bad. Like, I've got her, right? And Taylor pushes back super hard, and Lisa accepts it, right? And I feel like that was a moment, like, they genuinely communicated about that.
Yeah.
And so I do feel like there's something here, and, like, Lisa being like, okay, but yeah, like, just take a happy ending. Go be with your dad, like, get out of the city. That's fine. Taylor says no, and then Lisa's like, okay, well, like, let's go through the options, right? Like, I'm working with you here.
Unlike Legend, who's like, but you really don't want to, what?
Yeah.
You don't want to join the wards?
Yeah.
Hang on.
And in a, right, we've had so many examples of people who can't decide, who are helpless, who have options taken from them. Canary, being in the courtroom and then in the van and then put in the birdcage, right? All
Dinah.
the fake choices, right? Dinah, of course, it's very significant that Taylor gets a real choice at the end here, right? And this is again, like, thematically, you can't read this as Taylor's almost out and Lisa manipulates her into like doing, doing something villain adjacent or whatever, right? Like this is Taylor's decision and Lisa's here to witness it, but she's not putting her thumb on the scale, right? Like she's helping Taylor process it. It was just kind of like what you were saying.
Yeah. And I'm bummed not to have Taylor be part of the Undersiders anymore. I mean, I do think she'll probably work with them in some capacity, but it also feels so right that she is not accepting what Lisa's offering. Like it didn't even feel to me like a possibility that she could. Yeah. It was so clear that would be the wrong choice for her. Yeah. And Taylor is so clear a character. She's so vivid a character that there's just this really strong driving force for me as a reader. Like I really want her to choose the option that is right for her, and it is clear to me what that is. It's clear to me what that isn't, I guess I should say. I don't know what the correct option is. It's still a huge mystery, but
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. It's going to be fun to find out what that is. I guess one thing that I want to turn to is the whole opening piece about the question, how should Brockton Bay pay its respects? This big picture question that Taylor is meditating on, right? Like, we used to have funerals, but it hadn't worked out. Like, this is such a heady question, and it's much more realistic or human necessarily than some of the cape-driven questions, right? Like, just like, how do you find meaning in loss and death? Obviously, respects have to be paid, but how do you do it appropriately? And then the realistic collective action problem of like, in a really large community at like a city scale, if you have like this one event, there's no like set of norms around paying respects or not that's going to make sense, right? Like it's also, I feel like it reminds me of the capes who sued and created the don't talk to villains rule, right? Like it's like we're all living in the world that's the consequence of people who couldn't act for the benefit of the collective. And it's also, it feels like it's
the tragedy of the commons.
And it feels like it's a very like individualistic or like small L liberal, very American coded problem of like people are individual actors and like so you can't have the funeral and then like not let the people do stuff, but then it ends up in this bad situation, right? And I did think, this is kind of a weird thought, but like maybe like multiple funerals would have been the way to go. Sort of like the problem is the community is so big. I was thinking graduations at college, like you do tend to have one big ceremony, but the ones that tend to be more meaningful are like with your department or like a smaller group. Like you actually do have multiple ceremonies. You don't have to just be one and done and make it a media circus, right? Like, but the sort of the thing that really got to me about this is that the memorial is the solution that nobody can complain about, that includes everyone. And then we get the moment with the dogs being carved into the memorial. Yes. And this was devastating. This is like the thing that I think the first time were made me cry while reading it. Just like losing the dogs was tough, but this, just imagining Bitch like spending in the middle of the night just carving, like little bit by little bit, and she's not even like literate. Yeah,
clearly writing is not easy for her. She does not know how to spell his names.
Yeah, and it's like the memorial idea, it doesn't even address the people on the furthest outskirts of the Cape community. Like Bitch and her dogs, they deserve to be there, right? Like they were individuals that sacrificed themselves, and it's so it's such a beautiful illustration of the impossibility of solving that problem, right? Like Like,
and also, I have to wonder, like, what about the people who died in that shelter?
Yeah.
Like, they didn't show up to fight, so I guess it's a different thing, but, like, the losses go way beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I had a random thought. I was, I read about Coil's power, and then I was like, okay, so why is he called Coil? And currently my favorite idea that I came up with for it is, like, he has basically these two lives happening, and he can decide to just shuffle one off. He shuffles off that mortal Coil and keeps the other one. I was like, maybe that's why.
I love his name as Mortal Coil. That is amazing. That is amazing. Since we're back on Coil briefly, Taylor's reaction to it, and especially learning about, like, the alternate lost chapter, she's not like, oh, it's sad that we died or whatever. She's like, I kind of wish I could read that chapter. She's like, she cares, she wants, like, the knowledge and sort of the control over her fate more than she actually wants to, like, know that it turned out okay. Right? Like, the idea of, like, Coil being like, oh, trust me, you wouldn't have liked the other timeline. Taylor's like, no, I need to know exactly what happened because I need to verify that you picked the right timeline for me.
So here's a question. Do you think Coil is acting on this conversation?
It's a good question. How? How would he do it? Because we know he has to have a point of leverage. So what's his leverage here?
He could have told Tattletale not to go.
Yeah.
Maybe Tattletale asked him, give me, the options here.
Yeah, if things have cooled down, 12 days after the attack.
Right, maybe there's nothing else urgent happening this afternoon or whatever.
Well, this is another open question for me. Does Coil know that Taylor's a wannabe hero? Because I think the
he's
natural...
the one who told Lisa.
But did he know enough...
Oh, yeah.
Fair. Of
Fair.
that initial encounter? Like, it's sort of like Lisa gets on the phone to him and is like, and then, like, this other hero showed up and it was really bad. And Coil's like, okay, I'll just tell, Lisa Prime or whatever to be on the lookout for a hero.
Yeah.
And if our Lisa didn't follow up with him and say, oh, we have a new recruit, it's like
it's
24 hours later, like, we recruited a wannabe hero, right? Like, I sort of wonder if, like, it would have been up to Lisa to tell Coil, and I don't know that we know for sure that Coil knows.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Rereading that conversation with Coil in the limo where he's like, I don't know what you want, Skitter.
Right.
You could definitely
have been playing along.
You could definitely read into it that he's playing along and he's in on the joke. Mm-hmm. But you don't necessarily have to.
Yeah.
So I'd be very curious.
I do think it's probably at this point going to be common knowledge because there were so many capes listening in.
That's a great point.
So he probably will hear.
That's a great point. Yeah, even if he didn't know, now he knows.
To answer the question that we have not really been discussing because it's hard to discuss when you're this far into the story, this could be Act 1 of a musical. Mm. It would be, very condensed. Mm-hmm. We'd cut almost everything. Mm-hmm. But it could be. And in fact, the fact that so many people die and so much is destroyed would mean we could just leave a lot of it out. But of course, I don't know what becomes important in the future. So I do
think in Worm the Musical, Leviathan is the act break. Yeah. I don't know whether you do an epic final scene or whether you do Endbringer Sirens as the end of Act 1, and then you pick up, here-ish, and you have some exposition about what happened, because staging Leviathan would be so hard.
But how do you do the revelation about Taylor?
I guess you would pick up in the hospital. You wouldn't pick up here.
Okay, yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll discuss it.
We can discuss it later,
know more.
But it depends. Because I know there was an Attack on Titan musical where they had, like some epic combats against large creatures.
You definitely could do it. There would be stagecraft stuff.
You could do stagecraft stuff. I had some other thoughts about kind of where Taylor's at in this chapter that I'll touch on quickly, and if you want to respond to any of it, you can. The fact that she hasn't gone home and is very alone in this chapter really stands out. But I thought it was really telling that she sort of aligns herself with the people of Brockton Bay by like staying in these shelters. She's just seeing a lot of people who she doesn't know who are strangers, but she's kind of in community with them also while being alone, which I thought is an interesting choice, especially given how she's been meditating on kind of the destruction, the devastation of the city. There's a beat where, like, Taylor doesn't trust that Lisa isn't here for revenge. She's like, I don't want to get too close to her in case she pushes me off of this ledge. Dinah obviously still looms very large for Taylor. Like, as soon as Tattletale brings it up, Taylor's, like, cringing and inside feeling guilty, right? Like, and when Tattletale initially apologizes, she's kind of like, everything that happened to you was my fault. And Taylor pushes back on that, right? Like, I feel like we've talked about this before. She does take accountability, and she's not eager to jump into this mode of like, oh, now I have someone I can blame. It was you, Tattletale. Like, you did this to me, right? Like,
so true.
There are certain types of people who would love to have that out. And it was really telling to me that Taylor doesn't take it, right? Like she was saying to Amy, I have regrets, right? But like, joining the Undersiders is not one of them.
I love that. She's really glad. And it's kind of what she was saying in Arc 6. Like, she would be bummed to not try for these friendships genuinely. And she did. And she kind of got them briefly.
Yeah. The nuance there that I wanted to dig in on, though, is she lists Dinah, the situation with Danny, the scene at the hospital. Those are things that she regrets. But what is it about Danny that she regrets? I mean, it's that he, got mad at her for not being in school and stuff. But, like, why couldn't they connect? It's because of all of the villain-coded stuff that she was doing that she feels guilty about and can't face up to him about. So, to me, there is still this unresolved thing where she's like, well, the situation with my dad, I wish that had gone differently. Yeah. But she's not actually thinking like, well, I shouldn't have done that to Loong, or I shouldn't have joined the Undersiders, or I shouldn't have done this with right? Like, so I feel like there's a little bit of tension within her about like, well, the stuff that I did is good, but it doesn't look good. And I don't want to, and like, but like part of me knows or worries that it is bad. And that's why I can't talk to my dad about it. So like, I do feel like
unresolved
and
conflict,
and that's what we want, right? Like, the story needs Taylor to continue to struggle internally for it to keep being a good story. So, like, it's good that there are these, like, layers of depth here. Like, we can't just have Lisa's like, let's sit down and talk about it, and we'll go through all of your problems, and we'll have a little therapy session, like...
Lisa would be a fascinating therapist.
Oh no. That's what I have to say about that. One other thought about Lisa. Lisa says no more secrets before she launches into the explanation about Coil's power. That's a strong statement. I wonder, should Taylor trust it, and do you trust it? Do you feel like this is a genuine no more secrets moment, or is that a tough pill to swallow coming from Lisa?
Yeah, I don't trust it.
You don't trust it?
It's possible she sort of intends it in a like, it would be nice to be more open with Taylor way, but like, I don't think she really means it. Secrets are just layered too deep in her. Yeah.
Because that's it telling in this, like, how do you see Tattletale? Like, is that genuine? Is that not? Right? Even in this moment. Yeah. I think the last thing is, what's the deal with Zigzag? On the memorial, Zigzag has 2 civilian names listed.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Huh. I guess they can somehow combine into something cool. They're a Voltron.
Okay, so Voltron capes. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Zigzag was our first, perhaps only now dead Voltron cape.
Perfect.
Well, we do have an interlude coming up.
Okay. I already predicted it.
You already predicted it.
Yeah.
And the first sentence will tell you which character it is. Okay. Would you like me to read you the first sentence?
Oh my gosh, is it a Scion interlude?
Coil held firmly to the philosophy that...
Oh, well, it's a Coil interlude. Okay, yeah. The philosophy that the ends justified the means.
What's this going to be like? Vibes or stuff that's going to happen?
I really hope we get to see him on 2 paths and then get to watch him collapse one.
Amazing.
To watch him shuffle it off.
Amazing. A more intimate understanding of Coil's power.
I also hope that we get some deets on the reconstruction of the city. Like, I hope we get some, like, fun procedural...
Yeah, how's he feeling? Stuff. Yeah, like, Kaiser's gone. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably thrilled.
His base sunk, so maybe not so good.
Whatever. He can build another one. I know he had money in real estate, so he probably is hurting from that, but he's going to make so much from the reconstruction. He's going to control this whole rebuild.
Yeah, so
what an opportunity.
Everything's coming up Coil.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Maybe his philosophy is that, there's a silver lining to everything, kind of that kind of, there's nothing that happens that you can't turn to your advantage somehow.
Especially when you've got a, bonus timeline going at all times.
Yeah. And a bonus odds machine to help you figure out, I guess, which timelines to choose.
I know. Oh my God. Poor Dinah.
It's like, what? You weren't happy like one ability to collapse reality, like you have to enhance it? Come on. Anyway, that's my prediction for the interlude.
Well, that's what we're going to get
Next time
on Inchworm. Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae. You can read Worm at parahumans.wordpress.com and support the author at patreon.com/wildbow. Follow us on Tumblr and Blue Sky at Inchworm Podcast, or find our Discord link and any other updates on inchwormpodcast.com.